Are you ready to have the Lord of the Rings explained to you by Vox? Well, ready or not, they are explaining it. The right is obsessed with Lord of the Rings, but they don't understand it. The bizarre conservative misunderstanding of the Lord of the Rings explained. Well, I mean, definitely. For sure, absolutely. I am absolutely certain that Constance Grady here knows a lot more about Lord of the Rings than the right does, than even indeed its author, J.R.R. Tolkien, does, as he himself also quite famously stated that it was a Christian and a Catholic work. But okay, Constance Gravy, which is the name stuck in my head now, is going to explain to us how we got this all so terribly wrong. And seeing as this is a woman who blame incels for tariffs, I'm expecting her critique to be rather interesting. Among the many humiliations of being American in the current moment is this: members of the tech right and the conservative ruling class continually fetishize objects of nerd culture, also displaying a willful inability to grasp the very basic messages these objects are sending. White House, sending while there are certainly worse problems, e.g. white nationalism in the White House. Yes, that explains the tariff one. The blazing lack of reading comprehension from people who are allegedly smart does give one pause. Put simply, these people are bad nerds. Well, I'm sure that a Vox writer will know a lot about being a bad nerd. Probably the text they are most consistently prone to misreading is The Lord of the Rings. J.R.R. Tolkien's beloved fantasy trilogy deals with the corrupting influence of power and the necessity of death. Yet the right keeps using it as a parable for why powerful people should be given more power and human beings should be immortal. That is certainly one interpretation of how people are reading The Lord of the Rings. Definitely. Most recently, Elon Musk posted to his platform X that Tolkien's peaceful hobbits were able to live idyllic lives in the Shire because they were protected by the hard men of Gondor, referring to the human kingdom entrenched in battle against Mordor. England, Musk declared, must also ally with hard men, in this case the far-right anti-Islamic activist Tommy Robinson, who has been proven correct on pretty much everything he said up until this point, to restore its own peace and tranquility. Robinson is currently on trial in the UK, accused of refusing to comply with counter-terrorism police. Tommy Robinson has been on trial for the last 10 plus years for being an enemy of the state, more so than anything else. Following Musk's lead, the Department of Homeland Security posted an ICE recruitment ad using a screen grab of Merry, played Dominic Monaghan, one of the Hobbits and Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies. Superimposed over the image is a line of Merry's dialogue, "There won't be a Shire, Pippin," which is a fantastic meme, by the way. An absolutely amazing meme. This communicates so much meaning, so much intent, and ties it neatly together with a piece of pop culture that basically everyone knows and understands. It is a S+ tier meme. The idea here is that the naive hobbits represent the civilians of both the US and UK, and unbeknownst to them, they're being menaced by the forces of evil. Muslim migrants from the Middle East alleged to be invading both countries. The only way to prevent it, the metaphor implies, is the hobbit allies to ally with the hard men of Gondor, Islamophobic agitators for Musk, and masked militants who attack unarmed civilians for the DHS before their way of life is gone completely. Okay, so that's the main thrust of it. Firstly, the DHS are not masked militants. They are a part of your government. They are an arm of your law enforcement, as is ICE. As for unarmed civilians, oh, they are civilians, but not your civilians. They are Pakistani civilians, they are Somali civilians, Moroccan civilians, Mexican, Honduran, Venezuelan civilians. And what exactly is the duty of organizations like ICE? Oh right, that is to take other people's civilians and move them back to their country of origin. It's not difficult, really. As for, the metaphor here of the hard men, yes, absolutely. We need the hard men because we've already tried the soft ones, as goes on. However, you do not need deep scholar of the Lord of the Rings, and friends, I am not one. Thank you for the self-report, sir. To understand this metaphor completely falls apart after a single step back. In Tolkien's book, it is not the men of Gondor who turn back the force of evil and save the Shire. Yes, it is. It is the men of Gondor who save the Shire because it's those gentle, peaceful hobbits who pull the whole thing off. The hobbits would not have made it to Mount Doom were it not for the fact that Mordor was defeated at Minas Tirith, were it not for the fact that Aragorn marshaled the men of Gondor to go to the Black Gates and draw the enemy away to clear the path. It was the hard men who gave the soft hobbits, who were themselves pretty hardened at this point, the opportunity to do the right thing. That is another big part of the ice meme. Listen, there will not be a Shire, Pippin. There is no going home. Your home no longer exists. It is your choice now what you are going to do about it. They're only species able to carry the One Ring of Power because they are by their nature unambitious. Also, not entirely true. It's not that the hobbits don't have ambitions. They do. Frodo's ambition is to go on an adventure, to follow in the steps of Bilbo Baggins, of course. That's why he leaves home. He's excited about it. He's thrilled. Even Sam has ambitions. But when the ring tries to tempt him and say, Sam, the world could be your garden, he simply says, I already have a garden. It's not that they don't have ambitions, it is that they are humble, decent folks, honest, moral creatures. And the more power you have, the more power the ring has over you. All they want is to live their peaceful bourgeois lives of tea and toast and jam, so they're able to withstand the temptation of the ring and promises of power, ultimately carrying it far enough to destroy it. The best men of Gondor can do to help is to refuse to ever touch the ring, because they know if they pick it up, they will not be able to resist its temptation. Again, incorrect. Without the men of Gondor, there would have been no ring bearer. Sam and Frodo would have been picked off on the road by orcs, by agents of evil, by the Nazguls, without the Fellowship. Without the actions of Aragorn and the remainder to go to Minas Tirith to draw the eye of Sauron upon themselves, the hobbits could not have succeeded. To read the Lord of the Ring, allegedly, and assume the men of Gondor, the riders of Rohan, did nothing is... You have to have a degree in media literacy to be able to arrive at that conclusion. You must. It is an idea so patently absurd and ridiculous that you must have gone to college and university beyond it to even be able to fathom it. To translate this metaphor, if you're Tolkien as your guide and you believe your homeland to be under invasion by the force of evil, the solution is not to try to consolidate your power, harden your nature, and glory in needless cruelty. The solution is to refuse power whenever it is offered to you and to fight from a place of humility. Fight how? To refuse power. Okay, what you don't understand is, how do I put this? How do I explain this? You're Mordor. You are the evil. You are the enemy. You are the great threat to civilization. That's you, Gravy. That's you. And for the longest time, the weak men have gone, oh, we don't want to be mean to people. Oh, gosh. They're people too. We should just allow them to come in their millions and millions into our country. We can't support them and we can't integrate them all, but oh, it would be darnably mean to build a border fence, wouldn't it? Yes, that was the weak men. The infinite tolerance that was preyed upon by your kind, Gravy, by the endless hordes of economic migrants, by those who flout all international laws and simply trying to travel to the biggest honeypot they can, to then abuse and... I'm gonna go off on a rant on that. and not a YouTube-friendly one, so... The hospitality of the native populace. We did that for the last 25 plus years. Hell, probably for the last 30, 40 plus years. The weak men have reigned long enough. The weak men have spent trillions, to the point where we don't even know the number, on attempting to save everyone. And as a result, we've not only not saved anyone, we've doomed ourselves. It is absolutely time for the hard men to step in and say, no. I don't care about being mean. I don't care about being accused of not being humane enough for the standards of someone who would rather burn their own home to the ground so that foreigners may bask in the heat. It's simply not gonna happen anymore. And another part here as well that I quite liked. The Lord of the Rings has a pretty decent metaphor for what happens when powerful people decide to willfully ignore the wisdom of people they claim to respect and conclude that the only way they can be of service to the world is by chasing power for themselves. That's what happened to Sauron the Wizard, and he ends up invading the Shire himself. The men of Gondor didn't stop him at all. Yet again. This is, of course, the scouring of the Shire. What is the point of the scouring of the Shire? It is to go back to the grand events of everything that has happened, where Sam and Frodo were in essence just the ring bearers. They were not the hard men. They did not save the world by themselves. They saved man's world with the aid of men. Now they arrive in the Shire. The Shire is experiencing its own microcosmos of the cataclysm that happened outside. It has been overrun by a foreign power. A foreign power that has decided to impose upon the hospitality of the local populace and then oppress them with force. The hobbits are unable to resist because they are the soft men. They are the tolerant men. Then Sam, Frodo, Pippin, and Merrin come in and go, no. We've actually got a solution to this. The solution is to stab them. The solution is to throw rocks at them. The solution is to drive the foreign influence from our land. Not as a physical act, although that is of course a part of it, but as a moral act. Because with the One Ring, they didn't have a reason to say no. They didn't have, like, if they said no, there would be no Shire. The world would be over. It would be done. It was a course of actions forced upon them, something kinetic. But as returning to the Shire, Sam, Merry, Pippin, Frodo, they could have chosen to turn around. They could have chosen to go to Gondor, to Rohan, to the elves, to any countless places who would welcome them with open arms. Instead, they took the moral choice, the hard choice to say, no, this is our land. We could go somewhere else. We could flee England and go somewhere else, but we won't. We will fix this land, for this is our land. And to somehow twist this into a pro-immigrant narrative, the idea that the hard men did nothing when that is what the characters became? Box. If anyone here is somewhat lacking in their reading comprehension, I do believe it to be you. And hey, in the middle part here, they do also warn about the pursuit of absolute power. And yes, we all understand that. That's not difficult. Oh hey, if somebody tries to take absolute power, is that bad? Probably yes. But is it sometimes even required? Probably yes. Who was it that protected the Shire? Who was it that defeated Mordor? Who was it that protected the lands of the civilized world after the end of the book? Oh, that's right, an absolute monarch with vast military powers. In the midst of hardening his borders against the orcs. Power in and of itself is not evil, but one must simply be wary of the corrupting influence of that power. That is the lesson of the hobbits. You can have power, you can be powerful, you can be the hero and still not be corrupted by it. And even then, too, it is only in moderations. There is always a tipping point, as even Frodo fell in the end. And to then write an article going, the right doesn't understand this. The right hasn't been in power for ages now. It has only very recently seized power, and in America alone. If the argument is that the right has gotten too much power for itself, well, only to counter your power grab. Perhaps you should turn in the mirror and wonder, did we need the hate speech laws? Did we need to try to abolish the police? Did we need to bring in uncounted millions of legal migrants, never mind the illegal ones, to the point where our civilization began to audibly creak and crack? And why did you do it? I know why. But do you? Now, maybe you should go back to reread The Lord of the Rings again, Miss Not At All Expert on The Lord of the Rings, before producing another article quite as ridiculous as this one. Just a suggestion. Until next time, I have been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.